As we heard earlier, that this year is the year of Luke. Every year we change what gospel we read for the whole year. And this year we read from the Gospel of Luke, and we're coming to the end of this liturgical cycle called Cycle C. And Luke is, we read from it today. But today, as Bishop mentioned at the very beginning, is also his actual feast day, the great Luke. What a lot of people don't realize is Luke not only wrote Luke's gospel, but he also wrote the Acts of the Apostles, which means he wrote some 25% of the New Testament, which we read. Also is that he was a disciple of Paul the evangelist and was influenced and was one of the few who was there when he died or when he was ready to be executed. He was one of the faithful few that remained with him in the prison at Rome. But what's most important for today's celebration is that he was also a physician himself. And in that, Dr. Luke, as I always like to call him, he had a particular view that is seen in his Gospels, and we see it even today. And that view is an incredibly compassionate way with which to look at all he meets. So his Gospel and the second volume, the Acts of the Apostles, portrays Jesus really as the divine physician. And he has this look, and the parables, you'll note a couple of characteristics of this gospel. First of all is that he's the only one who has Good Samaritan story, right? He's the only one who has the prodigal son story. So these stories are not repeated in the other gospels. These are unique to him. And it speaks of his compassion for the wounded, the broken, the elderly, the outcast. He constantly is reaching, and through Jesus, he ministers to them. That's how Jesus comes, is to be the compassionate one. And the other part that he also, because he was with Paul, he was with two audiences. So there's a very clearly a Jewish audience, but he's also preaching to a Gentile audience. So this is written to that. But most importantly, I think for my sake, is that he is very gender sensitive. He is always, when he gives a parable for the male, and then he'll immediately give one for the female. There's never a parable that is not one for male, one for female. For example, the lost son, which we call the prodigal son, there's the lost coin. For the sheep, the lost sheep, there is also you have also the yeast. There's the one. There's always one to go with the other. So it's this way of inclusion is incredible. But the people he includes the most are the ones on the fringes, the broken, the wounded, and the sick. And that's why this seems so apropos for today as we honor those who work in the medical profession, those doctors and nurses and caregivers who dedicate their lives to the service, that you are really doing the vocation of the physician, of the divine physician. You are an extension of the Lord's compassionate hand. And the question then is how do we continue to help you and help ourselves? Because we're meant to be part of that same sort of extension. How do we remain close to this divine physician? This God who is always reaching out and including the most excluded, the broken, the wounded, the sick, the elderly. Time and time again, Luke is bringing them into the fold every single time. Well, I know many of you doctors and nurses, and you've told me so many of your stories and how it is exhausting work, and truly is. And your faith is your strength in how you do it. And that's why so many of you keep coming back to Mass, because it seems to be a rock for you to nourish yourself here at the table and then to go back out into the world to serve others through your compassionate hands. And I think that there's in that is the cycle of success. Is a cycle, this virtuous cycle of coming back to the table and then giving yourself away. But today's reading, this gospel, reminds us that there's something even deeper. That we're called to pray always, not just on our Sundays. That this commitment, this dedication to a life of discipleship requires of us to remain close to Christ in a deliberate and profound way. And this is why he says, pray always without ceasing. And it's a refrain we hear over and over again of all of Luke's, but also all of St. Paul. Pretty much all the New Testament reminds us how we're called to remain faithful to the Lord in our prayer. Now, Jesus gives a radical example here of this widow who's seeking justice. And sometimes it's tempted to read into this as that she's manipulating the judge, but she's not. She is steadfast. She remains completely unmoved by his lack of movement. And so that requires of us, we're called to persistence, is what the Lord is reminding us here. Persistence in our prayer life. And what is the foundation of persistence is faithfulness. And what is the foundation of faithfulness is trust. And what is the foundation of trust is faith itself. And so each of you who are a medical profession and are the hands and the feet of so many different places, we honor you because your faith is what is the foundation, is helping you do that. But remain close to the Lord in prayer. And that in your most difficult days, when you're exasperated and things just seem to be all falling apart and your patients die and get sicker, not better, and you get weary, we always remember to keep coming back to the Lord in prayer. That your ministry is not always measured by success, but that it's measured by perseverance and faithfulness and trust and faith. Because in the end, like St. Luke, so many of you are the only ones there when somebody takes their last breath. Like St. Luke, you were the faithful one who remained. As the bishop mentioned earlier about COVID years, you're the ones who stayed at the task, risking your own health, serving others, even ungrateful others. And you kept showing up, weary and broken and exhausted. And so, yes, we honor you, but we encourage you to continue to remain steadfast to the Lord, as we all are called. Another great saint whose feast day we celebrate this week is Saint Teresa of Ávila, the mystic of the 16th century, and one of my favorite saints. And she was famous to constantly encouraging all the people around her, who were mostly sisters, but also St. John of the Cross, the great St. John of the Cross, was encouraged always to be prayer. That it was not a transaction, it was a relationship. This prayer requires of us to stay in relationship. She had this beautiful prayer that has become famous called Nada Eturde. And it says, let nothing disturb you. Let nothing disturb you. Let nothing make you afraid. All things are passing. God alone never changes. That is why we keep showing up with the Lord. So thank you for the gift of your hands and your heart for healing others. Thank you for being there in their last breath. Thank you for being the presence of Christ, the divine physician. I know that your healing makes a difference. Your presence is what brings the healing into being. We all need that. And we all need to be part of that enterprise. Because in the end, you see, the Lord is a divine physician, and he sees our sins as wounds needing to be healed. And that's what he comes to do, is to heal us. and to give us his forgiveness and his divine love, which heals all things. So I want to close by dedicating this song. It's a beautiful song written by a good friend of mine, Father Liam Lawton, who is an Irish. He writes beautiful Celtic Irish music. And he has been the herald of beautiful music for decades. And now he himself is very ill. And in visiting him just this last few weeks ago in Ireland, he realized that he will never sing again. He'll never play a piano again. And he probably will never be able to preside at Mass again. And so this song, his song, I dedicated both to him, who will be watching, but also to all of you who are part of the hands and the feet of the healing divine physician who promises to heal us.
In our calling, stumbling and falling, your truth dawning, heal us, Lord. In our yearning, searching, discerning, wisdom learning, heal us, Lord. Heal us, Lord. Heal us, Lord. Heal us, Lord. May your word renew us. May your touch restore us. Heal us, Lord. In division, hate and derision, blinded vision, heal us, Lord. In hearts broken, harsh words are spoken, empty tokens, heal us, Lord. Heal us, Lord. Heal us, Lord. Heal us, Lord. May your word renew us. for us. Heal us, Lord. In our grieving, fragile believing, hope receiving, heal us, Lord. In our rising, living and dying, love abiding, heal us, Lord. Heal us, Lord. Heal us, Lord. Heal us, Lord. May your word renew us. May your touch restore us. Heal us, Lord.